Yes, we are.
Okay, great, thanks. So welcome everyone to the February 5th Technical Advisory Committee meeting. Apologize for running a few minutes behind here. So with that, we will get going with the, I guess the roll call at this point.
Jeff Sims,
Here.
Mike Williams,
Here.
Brian McCarthy,
Here.
Jonathan Scott,
Here.
Michael English, Cal Hardy, Robert Frey,
Online.
Laura Lenhart is excused, Gina Du, Bob Campbell,
Here.
Jesus Peraza Garcia,
Here.
Rob Wassam, Brent Koffenauer, Sophia Garantiva, Jennifer Malone,
Here.
Marcela Jimenez Ramirez,
Here.
Terrence McCluskey. Let me just double check my count. We do have an in-person quorum.
Okay, great. And Jesus, if you had said here and then walked right out, I would have had some mad props for you. That would have been. Okay, great. Thanks, Harry. Thanks for that. Hearing none other, I think it's time for public comment, correct? Yes, sir. Do we have any members present here today or online that wish to speak? Give it a few seconds to make sure they're not online. Okay, so with that, I think we will move forward with the next item and that is the approval of the minutes from January. Do we have any comments related to the minutes that were part of the agenda package? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion for approval of the January minutes. Marcella, thank you for the motion to approve. Do I get a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, great. Moving right on. The next up is our first action item, which is the tip amendments.
If anybody has their sound on their computers,
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, committee. This is Vishaka Shibraman, TPO staff for the record. And I'm here to present to you two tip amendments today. One is for the Hart Fixed Guideway, and the second one is for Fowler Avenue from 51st Street to River Hills Drive. This project for the Hart is for amending the current tip to add $750,000 of federal funding annually. This will be mainly used for rebuilding 5 streetcars. Rebuilds are specific to each streetcar, but it will improve overall, and the goal is to bring them to like new condition. Some of the repair that's included as part of this amendment could be roof repairs, air conditioning, air compressor, wiring, welding, floor replacement, internal and exterior painting and refurbishing, and line breaker, air brake refurbishment, etc. These are performed by Gumaco, who is the original manufacturer of the cars. This slide helps to explain the summary of changes. As you can see here, it's a new project, and capital funds are added to the first year of this project as part of this amendment. Please note that the funding for FY 24 is what is a 750, and the rest of the funding from FY 25 through 28 will be captured in the new work program and in the upcoming TIP. The second amendment is on Fowler Avenue for the project from 51st Street to River Hills Drive. This is for an existing project, and the amendment will update the project by changing the termini, which was originally from Bruceby Downs to 51st Street, and also it will reduce the construction funding by $5,000. The purpose of this project is to preserve and extend the life of the existing pavement through milling and resurfacing. The work also includes other minor repair works such as drainage improvements, a new signal at 52nd Street, lighting retrofit, ADA compliance standard and upgrade, and perform safety modification work. This is a map to show the summary of changes. As you can see here, that the Bruceby Downs, the original location was from Bruceby Downs, and that has been changed from Bruceby Downs to 51st Street, which is east of it. This also has a reduction in cost of the project because of the overall price. The construction cost has increased. Just please note that the areas in red, as highlighted in this map, will be covered under another project as given by FDOT, which is existing on Fowler Avenue from Florida to 56th Street. Excellent. Slide didn't move.
Just takes a minute.
Yeah. So sorry for that. This slide will help you to understand the summary of changes. Please note that the overall construction cost has been decreased, as mentioned before. It's up by 5,000. Some of the construction funds, which is a construction program, funding programs, have also changed. For example, district revenue and SA, which is surface transportation funds, have reduced, while some of the other funds have either been added or increased. And this is due to a change in overall construction cost and program funding change. This slide will just explain to you real quickly the project timeline. Tentatively, the project will be let go in May 2024. It's a quick project, and the construction is anticipated to start in summer and be completed and open to traffic by fall 2024. This slide will help you understand our outreach process. As part of our required public engagement guidelines, we published a newsletter describing the amendments. We also published informational flyers on social media, created an exclusive webpage for this project, and posted signs on the ground near the project location, which was on Fowler Avenue between 51st and River Hills Drive. With this, the recommended action is to recommend approval of the TIP amendments to add these two projects, including the funding change, and recommend it to the TPO board for approval. I can take any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Vishaka. Do we have any comments or questions? Okay, I have some on the second one. One functional, one fiscal. The one, this may just be a question. Is there any reason that you might know why they stopped at 51st and didn't go all the way to the Hillsborough River Bridge, which is a different type of roadway? And it's, you know, I've seen these things where there's that sudden end and then there's a different type of pavement.
You mean stopped at River Hills and did not go further?
Like at least to the bridge where there's still pavement and it's probably, I don't know, less than a quarter mile more before you have a different type of roadway. And, you know, it just, I've seen this patchwork kind of repairs before, and sometimes it's just odd that, you know, probably should have gone all the way to the interstate. But again, I realize this was a project done before. You probably don't have an answer. You know, it was spec'd out then. I'm just wondering if you might be.
And this is just a graphic that we got from FDOT's website. It could not, I mean, it might not be the actual design drawings, and I would have actually requested from them the design drawings, which will actually show the project termini. This to me looks not up to the ramp, but I'm hoping that it'll at least meet the ramp and the interstate. You're right about it. I'll try to see if I can get some drawings and renderings from the project manager. And if I can, I'll pass it on to Wade and we can send it to you.
I don't know if Billy might have some more information on this, but I think really what Mr. Sims is asking is why it ends before the river and why
Yeah.
doesn't it go all the way to the interchange?
Or at least to the road, well, it ends at, if it's River Hills, it's often red short. The bridge has got a different type of roadway, so you're gonna automatically have a transition. So it's, you know, I can envision if it truly stops on River Hills, you're like, oh, you got nice new blacktop. And Fowler in that area is getting chewed up. I was just there, so it needs it. I don't remember what it's like exactly on the bridge, but I hate to think that you got this nice blacktop, an eighth of a mile of chewed up roadway, nice bridge, and then, you know what I mean? I'm just wondering, you know, this, what our group is supposed to do is just kind of ask questions, so that's the way that.
Sure, if I understand, that's what I said. This graphic we found from their project fact sheet. It might not be the actual project termini, but I will definitely see if I can get the actual termini and also the project renderings, which might give you the exact location of the project, and I'll pass it on to you.
Specific to that side, that termini hasn't changed any, so. You know, there's a lot of guesses, I don't know from the project manager specifically why they picked that line there. Is that there was probably some other resurfacing schedule.
Yeah, it could be.
To the east of it for one reason or the other. Wild guess being possibly something connected to the interchange. But like you said, I can look into it and see if there was a specific.
Okay.
One right here.
Could you state your name on the record?
Billy Schmidt, but I think it was such.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so my other question, and this is fiscal, and let me start off, I've said this before, I'm not a transportation expert. I don't pretend to be, you know, I run the meetings and I've learned a lot. I've been doing this for a decade now. But when and I don't really look at the tips too close usually. Functionally, I absolutely think this is a project that it needs to be done.
Mhm.
So I look at the money sometimes, but if somebody can explain to me, just to better understand this, because the way I see it, the original project was like $17 million. Right, and that was supposed to go 3.6 miles all the way to Bruce B down. The new project is like 1.6 miles modified, so it's like almost half. And it's only $5,000 less out of $17 million.
I understand.
I mean, if that was the case and I was doing my own business, I'd say, let's pay the extra 5,000 and go all the way to Bruce B Downs because it's minuscule in the whole scope of things. So is there just something I don't know about? I admit, I probably don't understand how it works.
I would, oops.
That's Bob.
I was just
Bob, you have something to
Yeah,
add?
but I said, based on what we're seeing on prices right now, I would say that you're not gonna get to Bruce B Downs for the extra 5, you know, that they're talking about there. We're seeing costs coming in 30 to 40% higher than what they've been estimated. And I'm sure the county's been seeing that as well. So this could be just simply, this is what they can get done under the prices that needs to be done right now and then wait and for later. I don't know, that's pure speculation, but what you're saying, we're not seeing prices that, for example, the costs that are coming in that would reflect that situation where for that 5, you can go all the way there. That would just be my guess.
Okay, thanks. That was Bob Fry for the record.
That's the kind of information I got from the project team also at FUT, that due to increase in construction cost, they have shortened the project location, but that only makes the project amount go less by a very small amount. And I had mentioned that the rest of that project, what was the overlap, is covered under the other, there's another existing project, so they might have moved that, the west end of Bruce B Downs 56 to that project.
That's it. Okay, I mean, that's a sign. I know prices are going up, but that's like basically almost doubling the cost. And I mean, the original was adopted 8 months ago. So in 8 months, it's doubled on the construction cost. I mean, that's almost Article 8. So I don't know if that's scrutinized by DOT or whoever when the bids come in. I'm sure it is, but you know, I'm not a pro, but I'm a numbers guy. I look for anomalies and things like that, and that just jumped off the paper acting. And you know, I have a hard time supporting it when I'm questioning whether I want to make sure the taxpayers are getting their fair share. You know, and I'm not accusing anybody of being wrong with anything. I don't know. I just feel like, you know, it's something that should be discussed or at least, you know, examined.
I'll make a note of it and I will see if I can find an answer, an explanation or a detailed cost for that, but
Yeah, if you could, and maybe just see if you're seeing a similar type project somewhere else where it's, you know, something that's showing, oh yeah, we're getting, you know, 40, 60, 80% increases in the last year, you know, whatever it is, but, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Just it rubbed me the wrong way when I was going through the packet. Do you have anything to add to that? No?
Not that I have a whole lot more to add than she had there. But again, Billy Schmidt at DOT staff. Again, speaking with the project manager this morning, I don't have much more other than the construction cost has increased, and this is to make sure that we can go ahead and pay for the rest of that other side of the project. As she said, the remainder of it that's basically in front of USF there, which for us at district headquarters, we have some skin in the game on since it's right in front of our headquarters. That would be added to the other project that would be more along that USF through University Mall all the way down to 275, which is where that study is right now on Fowler. That will be added to that project. Cost increase, I can see it across everything we do in the department right now are pretty astronomical in some cases. Especially for some of the signalization and masthead, the things that are going on. But I can, again, work with her and get you guys some answers, a little bit more detail if I can, about specifically what was kind of jumping through the roof on some of those things.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other questions or comments?
Just one,
Yeah.
what year is the other project, one that was part of this is moving to? When is that funded for construction?
have that information with me, but
Hurry.
no, he was asking the other parts of the project.
Correct.
4, 5, 6, 5, yes.
That's in 2025, so December of 2025 is when that would be the plan.
Okay.
So is this project ahead of the other one that, you know,
Yeah,
Okay.
this will go effect in 2024.
yeah, because I think the work, I mean, again, my own, not much knowledge, but I think the area between like 56 and the river is worse condition than the rest of the area, so.
Which is probably why they decided. So the cost, we gotta do the work first.
So that is an existing project. This tip amendment is just to change the funds and move that project terminus. So it just updates the project. It's an existing project on Fowler from that till River Hills Drive.
Okay, so with that, you're looking for a motion for approval of tips, yes.
Chair, I think the chair has some valid points and questions. But it seems from the time chart, this is time sensitive. We're probably going to go to construction. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation action here today.
Okay, we have a motion.
This is Bobby.
Yes, thank you, Bobby. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Jesus, thank you. Is there any discussion? I'll make, just for the general record, I don't vote unless I pass the gavel as chair, so I'm not voting on this. I do have reservations about it only because of the discussion we had, but I certainly have no objection to the committee, you know, going forward with it. But I just feel like, you know, I wanted to put that out there for whatever it's worth. So with that, any further discussion? We have a motion for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any nays? Great. Thank you, Vishaka.
Thank you so much. I'll get your answers as soon as I can.
Great, thank you. All right, next up is the 2024 safety performance targets. Connor?
Yes. I'll give it a second to load, but I'm Connor Trejos McDonald, TPO staff. Good afternoon, committee. Waiting for that.
Okay.
It's data on my screen, but Should I stop sharing the screen and share again to see if that works?
Yes, possible.
Okay, once more, Connor Trejos McDonald, CPO staff here to present the 2024 safety performance targets. So a refresher on this or an introduction, if you're not familiar, performance measures are required by MPOs out of the MAP 21 legislation, which is moving ahead for progress in the 21st Century Act of 2012. It's now referred to under the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The legislation states that it creates a streamlined, performance-based, and multimodal program to address the many challenges facing the U.S. transportation system. And there are 6 categories of targets. If I can name them all, I'm not sure, but there's pavement and bridge condition, travel time reliability, public transportation agency safety plan, I think. This one would be safety performance targets. And of those, 5 are required. So number of fatalities on a 5-year rolling average, rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, number of serious injuries on a 5-year average, rate of serious injuries, number of serious injuries and the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And there are 2 elected by the Hillsborough CPO, one being the number of fatalities, and the other being motorcycle fatalities on a 5-year roll. Just to get into these, as you may remember, in 2021, there was an all-time high of 255 fatalities. In 2023, we're estimating about 199, and I say estimating because the numbers were not up to speed and the end of 2023 when we pulled these numbers. So we estimate that last month based on the trend through November. So with that, we're recommending a 1% reduction factor, which is noted as federal highway best practice. It's also supported by FDOT and HART, and it's in our 2045 long range transportation plan. So applying that 1% reduction factor based on available funding, we're recommending a target to set 100 and no more than 197 fatalities in 2020. On a 5-year rolling average, you may recall that last year, the 5-year average for that set actually led to an increased number. This year, we are seeing a decreased number, which is good news. So recommending a target of 200, no more than 216 annual fatalities on a 5-year rolling average. The fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Again, we saw an increase in the past years, but we now are seeing that decrease in the 5-year average. So recommending a target of no more than 1.49 fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Motorcycle fatalities on a 5-year rolling average. We did see an increase last year, but we did see a decrease this year in 2023. I mean, applying that reduction factor, recommending a target of no more than 38 motorcycle fatalities on a 5-year rolling. Annual serious injuries. We have seen a decrease since even before the 2014 and 2018. So a steady decrease and applying a reduction factor, recommending a target of no more than 940. Serious injury rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, again, seeing a reduction, recommending a target of more than 6.52. Unfortunately, an annual non-motorized fatalities with serious injuries, we are seeing an increase when that 5-year average being pulled from some high numbers in the past years. The target is, you'll see, is higher than what we saw before. It still has that 1% reduction factor, so no more than 240. So the report card, and this number was actually wrong in the packet that you received, the presentation that was linked. So my apologies for that. We did meet the fatalities with about 199, and the target was 214. So we met bios for 6 out of 7 targets, I believe. The one that we did not meet being motorcycle fatalities. And also to note, non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries was right at that target. So I'll give a second so you can review with the, how we did.
May I ask a question?
One moment, sorry, I haven't finished the presentation, but give me
Oh,
just
sure,
one
sorry,
second.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
Preface
So
clause.
some takeaways, the targets were not met for motorcycle fatalities and non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries are seeing upward trend. So the local relation implementation, what can the TPO do? In the MPO and local government toolbox, we can design and prioritize safety projects and local capital improvement plans and continue to program safety studies in the Unified Planning Work Program. Also with the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, we can continue to prioritize safety projects that are lower cost and or shovel ready. And the Hillsborough TPO Speed Management Action Plan in 2019 had some recommendations as well to design self-enforcing roadways, set and communicate safe speed limits, enforce safe speed limits as well. In 2024 performance targets, as you can see all in one slide. And finally, the recommended action is to approve the calendar year 2024 safety performance targets and recommend approval to the TPO board. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
All right, great. Thank you, Connor. Sounded like Bob had something to start off with, so Bob Bragg.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, that Hart was good with the metrics and that they were part of the development, and I just want to get an answer to make sure on the vote.
Yes, that's accurate. We did consult with Hart and FDOT as well on our methodology for setting these targets.
Thank you.
Do you have any other comments? Bob?
Yes, back to your statistics, if you could go to the crashes in year 2023,
Yes.
you said the actual was 199, is that correct?
So the way we do that is, like I said, we pull the numbers in order for the presentation at like the beginning of January, but we don't always see the full amount, you know, up until the end of December. Sometimes it'll take several weeks to upload those crash reports. And unfortunately, of course, there could be fatalities. It's fatalities within 30 days related to the crash. So often we don't see the full numbers. So if you pull the report today, you may see an increase of 199, but that was our best estimate.
Okay, well, I did pull the numbers, through the end of December, it's 233.
233.
Fatality, so it's a significant difference between 199 and 233. And if you go through the rolling average, say the last 4 or 5 years, it's higher than 197.
Yes. So
It's more like 230 or something. I don't know how we will get down to 197 if the annual numbers are it's 233, 2022 it's 225, 21 it's 271, and 2020 it's 213. For the last 4 years, it's always been 220 or higher. We're trying to go to 197. I don't think it's doable in 1 year.
Sounds like, well, just, I mean, I'd like you to address it, but I mean, it sounds like the numbers you're pulling are consistently above what MPO has shown. So do we know if we're looking at apples and apples here?
Are we talking signal 4?
No, we're not. We're talking about, we get our data from the state Department of Motor Vehicles and Highway Safety. And we pull the numbers from the website and we get a monthly disc with them with all the reports. So we got it from the state agency, responsible reporting the information.
you said that was the State Department.
If the numbers are correct, we're asking for a 15% reduction in 1 year.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make a major change.
I mean, I can see where the rationale for what was proposed, it seems to make relative sense, but I think, Bob's point, he's saying that the data, if it's not accurate prior to that, well, then that methodology is not, going to reflect the same goal if different numbers that appear to be higher are inserted. So that's a good question. So do you know why the numbers are different?
I'm not sure. You said it was the State Department of Motor Vehicles. The numbers are
Always, state, Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. State agency, and they publish the information on their website.
Okay,
Check their website.
I'll definitely look into that. We pull our numbers from Signal 4, which is what FDOT recommends and requires us to do with the safety performance measures. I'm not sure why there would be an inaccuracy between that and what another state department will report, but I can absolutely research it.
Connor, I think Mr. Schmidt.
Oh, thank you.
Billy Schmidt, FDOT staff again. I don't have a specific answer to that. However, DHSMB data is slightly higher than what we report in Signal 4. Signal 4 pulls from DHSMB. It is all their data. However, there is additional stuff reported in that total thing, that total report number you have versus what's in Signal 4. I don't remember specifics, but it potentially was something like parking lot deaths and other things like that that might not be specific to roadways. But they can, I mean, we can look into the exact answer for you.
Please.
I know that I was getting that last week at Pasco and one of the consultants answered it and it's escaping me the exact details of what was reported differently in that total number on the website for highway safety motor vehicles, but there is a slight difference between what that normal number is reported on their website versus what we're seeing on just roadways in the state of Florida for Signal 4 data.
Seems like it'd be good to know why there's a difference.
100%.
Because, you know, if it's like parking lots, the example you gave, you know, maybe that's like a private property issue,
Correct, right.
or maybe there's something we need to do with our parking standards even, you know, whatever, but
Right.
more so we know what to focus on and what's helping bring numbers down.
But yeah, definitely, we can definitely look at seeing exactly what the detailed differences are.
Does this include pedestrian? That's as part of this. This is total gross. These fatalities.
Yes. We will be happy to go back and make sure nothing has been added to Signal 4, but I do know that all these numbers have been pulled from Signal 4 every year, so I'd like to stay on the same methodology that they're using. But we can also bring back the differences and what's included and what's not. And we would adjust the targets. And I see Dr. Long has his hand up, so I'll defer to him.
Hey, good afternoon, TAC. This is Johnny Wong, TPO Staff Director. I just want to share that on June 7th, 2023, DOT State Safety Office announced that Signal 4 is the state's official crash data repository, and it is the sole source of crash information for FDOT safety analysis. So whereas previously we had pulled data from the District 7 crash data management system and maybe supplemented that with data available on Signal 4. Now, when we're producing these performance measures, we're required by the state to use Signal 4 data. And so although we recognize that there may be differences in numbers among different databases, FDOT is informing us that we have to use Signal 4 for these targets.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Long.
That's fine, but I'd still like to know why there's a difference.
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if for no other reason, we're supposed to be, you know, informed and making decisions and so forth. And you know, again, now we're supposed to ask these questions, and I think it's a very valid question. And I would certainly like to know. I mean, if that's the policy that we use in the report, fine. You know, and I think the methodology makes sense. But I would like to know. Right.
Oh, just to add to the discussion, I know we noticed that one of our new subdivisions, I've been with the city for 3 years now, and that road hasn't been added to Signal 4. Our police department has told us of crashes that have occurred. So I don't know, again, it's just a matter of updating Signal 4's database of all roadways within the county and the cities.
So, so with that, are there any other discussion?
I don't know the question.
Yes.
Do we ever go back and just try to figure out why we trend down versus trending up? I know COVID's always one of the reasons why we had the peaks, but I mean, how can we replicate the continued downward trend that we see in 2016 and 2018?
That's an excellent question. I haven't looked back as far as 2015 to see what the trends were then. Every year I do kind of look and see if there's like last year when motorcycle fatalities were high, I looked at where they were and it was not much consistency. Several of them were in US 301, but there wasn't a trend that I could pull out. But you're absolutely right. The higher numbers in 2021 were related to COVID and lower traffic congestion led to higher speeds. We also, another theory that we have with fatalities kind of increasing and serious injuries on that slower, on a more routine decrease is that the crashes are actually turning from serious injuries into fatalities. So they're more serious, maybe the weight of the vehicle could be a factor. So we do look into that. I'm not sure how we can replicate those numbers, that went down in 2017, but I can absolutely research those more.
Go ahead, Wade.
Yes, and when we look at different safety projects, and we looked at this in the last LRTP and probably look at it this time, although I'm not sure exactly in the same way. But we look at crash reduction factors for the safety improvements that are being instituted. We thought that in the last LRTP, with the higher funding scenario, that we could bring down fatal and serious crashes by about 30% by 2045. We have not seen that funding level, so that would be at a lower percentage, but I believe the default was bringing fatal and serious injury crashes down by about 1% per year under that scenario. So we sort of made some assumptions related to that, to the crash reduction factors included in a package of safety improvements that we sort of decided were standard for safety projects. If that makes.
We ever look at like, when you bring up the long range safety and whatnot, do we ever go back to the last time we updated the plan? Just obviously there should be a lot of data there now to see what worked and what didn't work in the past. And I might say the same thing that you just said.
We do look at what we did before and see if we should be doing anything differently. I would need to look back at the 2040 to 2035 to see what we did then versus now, because I wasn't around for the development of 2040 then. So I'm not sure what we put into that.
I mean, I think it's a valid question. The most important thing we do as a committee and all of us, I think, is try to examine, best for safety. Obviously, gross movement of vehicles and stuff is at the forefront also, but, safety is most important. So those are very valid questions. And I think we can't forget that the population in Hillsborough County is increasing dramatically. And with that, there's a lot more cars on the road. So inherently, it's almost an expectation that they're going to have more issues. So you can't be shocked by that. And in a way, a lot of the trends, it seems, from last year were trending down, which is good. But it's so many different dynamics involved that I can understand why it'd be difficult. But I wholeheartedly agree. And I think you guys do, but, we recommend that you guys are trying to assess what do we think is having the best result, and then trying to implement the best, where we can most. So I don't know, I guess that's more of an opinion, but that's where we stand. I think that's what the group feels like based on questions that's being asked and so forth. So with that, we have the request for a motion to approve the new goals. We have a concern about the accuracy on at least one of the metrics. So I think we could entertain, I'll hold motions in a second. We could entertain holding the motion with the directive that you come back with an explanation on those. And an assumption that the numbers you used are correct from signal 4. Or I don't know if we have the ability to postpone this. I don't know what kind of timeline.
I think we are on the timeline that we need to move this forward, but I'm certain that we would be open to the idea of updating with the most recent numbers from Signal 4 prior to going to the board. Would that be okay, Connor?
Yes, I can absolutely look at how more recent numbers, see the discrepancy there, and make sure we're using the most accurate information before we go to the board. I will say these performance targets are due, I think, at the end of February, so we are required to produce something by then. So
Okay, so Having said that, does somebody want to make a motion? Okay, Wade's gonna try to coin the motion. Somebody will need to actually make it though.
If anybody wanted to make a motion, that we update with the most recent numbers prior to, taking this to the board, we can certainly do that. And the targets would shift potentially a little bit, because that average might shift up or down, probably up, as Mr. Campbell, pointed out. So, that's just some thoughts.
Okay, so I think what we're saying is, I'm gonna try to encapsulate it. I'm looking for a motion to approve the proposed goals with the understanding that the values for the total fatalities.
It would total fatalities, but the other number
Oh, okay.
could also shift.
That all of the numbers are re-examined to ensure they are accurate with signal or four before going to the board. And I'd like to hold that, I'd like have the staff report back on what's the differences, but should that be part of the or should I?
We can bring that back as a status report, absolutely.
Okay.
And it doesn't need to be part of the.
Okay.
We can commit to it.
I'll mention it afterwards. Okay, so that's the motion we're looking for. Can I have a motion?
Jonathan Scott, motion to approve.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jesus, each by knows. So, you have a motion second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. And then as a postscript on this, I'd like to formally request from the TAC committee that staff come back to the board with an explanation of how the differences are resulting between Signal 4 and Florida Highway Safety numbers at a future meeting, preferably sooner than later, because the topic will get old to be.
And this is something that we run into every year because sometimes there's the 60-day lag based on Marcy's law for fatalities, plus the 30 days after a fatality happens. So it's always the date that the target is due versus the date that the numbers are available as a final for 2023. So it is, thank you all for your motion. And it is always a challenge every year, but we will bring that back. I would assume March or April, we would probably have the final numbers, but so.
I'm looking, I mean, is there a need that it has to be done in February every year? Okay. All right, any other discussion, or I think we're good on that topic? I'm sure Connor's ready to sit down. Okay, thank you, Connor.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the status report on the Gibson Drive PD.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Hensel. I'm a representative of the Florida Department of Transportation. I'm the project manager on this PD&E study I'm going to talk about today. And also with me, I have Jeff Novotny, the consultant PM for American, who did this study. So the Florida Department of Transportation, in coordination with Hillsborough County, is conducting a PD&E study for Gibsonton Drive from Fern Hill Drive to US 301. We're here to update you all in advance of a public hearing coming up on February 20th. Gibsonton Drive is a Hillsborough County roadway. The length of this project is just under 1 mile. The existing roadway has 4 travel lanes, 2 in each direction. There are existing sidewalks on both sides, except for a small gap west of Kenda Drive. The existing right-of-way width varies throughout the corridor from 125 to 150 feet. The no-build alternative, which involves only routine maintenance, would remain a viable alternative through the PD&E study. The purpose of this project is to address future roadway capacity issues as well as improve safety conditions. Gibsonton Drive exhibits crash rates which are higher than the statewide average for similar state facilities. The project will also provide improved mobility for pedestrians and bicyclists along the corridor. Expanding Gibsonton Drive from 4 to 6 lanes is consistent with the cost feasible portion of the 2045 Hillsborough County TPO's long-range transportation plan. There are no phases for design right-of-way or construction funded in the county CIP or the 5-year FDOT work program. Through coordination with Hillsborough County staff, the preferred alternative includes widening Gibsonton Drive from 4 to 6 lanes with a 22-foot wide median. There will be 2 11-foot and 1-foot travel lanes in each direction with curb and gutter and a 10-foot wide sidewalk on each side of the roadway. The road widening was shifted to minimize right-of-way requirements, impacts, and costs. Intersection improvements along Gibsonton Drive at US 301 are included with the proposed improvements. 1 new offsite stormwater management site and 1 new floodplain compensation site are provided to accommodate the proposed improvements. This preferred alternative connects to the future construction of the Gibsonton Drive at I-75 interchange DDI, which is currently under design by FDOT under work program item segment number 437652-2. Up to 30 feet of additional right-of-way is required along the north side of Gibsonton Drive, with up to 7 feet of additional right-of-way needed on the south side. The preliminary concepts will be shown on the aerial boards at the upcoming public hearing. Project team evaluated environmental effects and alternative analysis. The project alternatives were evaluated for impacts on the natural and cultural resources, on the social and physical environments. There are no significant impacts to natural or cultural resources, contamination sites, and noise abatement is not feasible or cost reasonable. To accommodate the roadway widening and anticipated off-site stormwater and floodplain compensation sites, acquisition of additional right-of-way is anticipated. 20 parcels may be affected, 18 partial and 2 full parcels, which include 3 potential residential relocations and 1 potential business relocation. The evaluation matrix compares the right-of-way acquisition requirements, environmental impacts, and costs of the preferred build alternative to the no-build alternative. As noted, there were no significant impacts to natural, physical, or cultural resources with the preferred alternative. The preliminary cost of the project, including design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction phases, is just over $38 million in today's costs. After the public hearing, the study team will gather, review, and consider all public input and update the project evaluation. The draft study documents will be updated and submitted to FDOT's Office of Environmental Management. We anticipate location and design concept acceptance by summer of 2024. The public hearing is scheduled for February 20th from 5:30 to 7:30 with a formal portion starting at 6:30. The in-person session will be at the Riverview Public Library, which is just off the project site. The virtual session will be held at the same day at the same time. You can visit the project website to register for the virtual session, and you'll be sent a link to the GoToWebinar. Comments received by March 1st will become part of the official public hearing record. Draft study documents and materials will be available at the library, the FDOT office, and on the project website until March 1st. To find out more about the project and view the public hearing materials before the sessions, you can visit the project website located here on the screen, or you can contact myself, Ashley Hensel, the DOT project manager. Thank you. We look forward to any comments or questions you might have today. And remember to be alert today, alive tomorrow. Safety doesn't happen by accident. Questions?
I suspect we will. Do we have any comments from the group? Yes.
It's Marcela with the Health Department. We do have a meeting with our partners on Friday, and it sounds like you're looking for input from the general public for this project. So I went to the website, but like, is there a way that Spanish speaker or other population that doesn't speak English can provide input? Because I don't see any option here.
Yeah, they can provide input through the website, or they can call us and we have a Spanish this translation and can take their comments and pass them on to us.
It would be good to have that somewhere in the website for.
Okay, it should be on the website, but we'll double check to make sure that.
If it's okay, I can share this information with the partners.
Sure.
Because they serve, different populations. Perhaps there is some population that may want to provide input for your project.
Okay, yep, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I guess my question is more for the county. It looks like it's going more towards an urban, typical section with the curb and gutter. Is that, I'm not very familiar with Gibsonton other than west of 75 versus east of 75. Is this more of a urbanized area now?
But the typical cross section address.
So the area in general is. It's been a lot of growth there since that road was last worked on. In fact, there's very little vacant property along that corridor. The typical section just to the east, which is like from 301, basically all the way to Fishhawk, is all urban section. So it would be kind of a continuation of the urban section. You're looking coming from the east. This is all east of the interstate, so.
It's a very heavily traveled road. It's become extremely special, mainly because I think Fishhawk and then all the growth out in North 3 or South 301. There's just only so many feeder roads. It's very busy. It's certainly an area I think that needs to be addressed. Yeah, if you haven't been out there in a while, you would probably be shocked. And they're building as fast as they can build out in the Waimama area and stuff. And maybe this is probably not the exit they get off on, but what happens? So it's just, it needs improvement, density wise, and how much margin to travel. I think
It's about one of the genesis for this particular project. It's on the HIN network. It's one of Wade's as a project manager, I think, on this particular corridor. And it's what our target corridor is a result. It's what the TPO staff did 2-3 years ago.
At least, yeah, it must have been before the, or no, it's right at the beginning of the pandemic.
And so you'll notice the typical section includes tinted paths on either side of this road. It's because of the high crash rates. And we want to make it usable for all road users, walkers, bike riders, those type of things here.
If I may, this seems very consistent with that project. I recall, I believe we had proposed a shared use path along the south side of the road. And they have 10 foot on each side here, which is, I would say, better than what had been proposed in that study. So thank you.
I have a question. Can you pull up one of the first slides where it shows the actual length of the corridor that they're doing? You said it starts at Fern Hill and ends where? Like it's kind of.
Just-
See there.
I can zoom in. It ends just east of 301.
It's pulled up a lot. Okay, excellent, excellent. Because as somebody that does take this roadway, the problem, and it's funny because I was looking at app and right now it shows in yellow because that coming up Boyetta and getting to 301 is always a backup. And it's generally because people want to turn left to go south on 301 and it backs the lane up and it causes disruption. And then there's a right turn only lane. I'm sure you guys know about it. But what I wanted to see is if this was part of the project, and I'm glad to know it was. And you can, if you want to address your improvements for that area, I appreciate it. But mainly, I just wanted to know it was part of the project.
Can I address that one?
To the intersection at 301.
Hold on one second, Bob. Do you have a comment?
DOT's got a project to rebuild this intersection with replacing asphalted concrete with concrete or a concrete seam. This
Might be
what we had with the 301. Correct.
Yeah, there's one here too. There's one at Sims.
You know, the reason I asked the question is the county just authorized transfer of $900,000 to DOT. We're paying into their fund to put dual left turns to address the problem you just cited. We'll have two lefts, two throughs, one right. It's currently two rights, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to convert this is the correct intersection. This is the Boyette intersection. So the left turn lane is a problem. Or make it do two
Yeah.
left turns.
The left lane is what I've noticed causes the problem, because it backs up and everybody that wants to go straight doesn't know that you have to go around, and then you're pushed to the right hand turn lane if you're not paying attention.
On DOT's website, to go to projects, that problem is in a different project, but it has been addressed by DOT.
But it's a lot sooner.
It's a lot sooner than this project.
This project's not funded.
I think,
This
Oh.
project is not funded for design right away or.
right, but the intersection project he's talking about, I think it goes in straight.
But it should. Well, let me hear from you all what you came up with as far as that intersection, what you found as part of the study, and then we can compound that with what we know is actually starting to happen.
Sure. Jeff Navani, representing FDOT at the US 301 intersection. We did find that the westbound movements and the left turns are substandard in terms of being able to handle the traffic. So the proposed improvements do include second left turn lane going westbound. It's converting one of those right turn lanes into a through lane. So that through lane will continue then to US to the interstate. So it'll be continuous in that direction. In the eastbound direction, we're also adding a second right turn lane to go southbound to allow traffic coming from the interstate to flush through more effectively in that direction as well. We're also doing one other thing, and that's to realign the eastbound movement through the intersection on Gibsonton to Boyette. Right now, as you go through, you have to jog over almost a full lane width to stay in your lane. We're gonna help that a little, as much as we can. So we're gonna get it to the standard 6-foot offset as a max. So that should facilitate some of the slowing down that may occur as vehicles go through and potential side swipes and those kind of things.
Excuse me.
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I just wanted to let them know that we're in the phase of doing a PD&E on 301, and we would like to basically find out who to coordinate with so we could talk to you about what you're finding there versus what we're going to be looking at. And Gibsonton is definitely one of the potential access points for an elevated type facility that we've been asked to look at. So if we can get a name or something to coordinate with, we'd love to at least talk to you, at least show what we've got versus what you've got, so that we can work together and maybe help solve this.
That was Bob with the Hillsborough Expressway Authority. You probably know that, but
Yeah, so Bob, I can help you with that. Since I'm gonna be the PM on the DOT side for the 301 extension, I can help facilitate that coordination between Jeff and your consultant as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And like I said, we've done some work on that intersection as well and have some data collection that's pretty recent, so we may be able to help out a little bit. We'll see what we can do. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
a last question for me is you talked about some of the environmental, and you mentioned the noise, and I know that, our office, we don't regulate it, but we do field complaints, so we know that traffic is an issue. I know south of all of this, it's pretty much all. I mean, I don't think there's any issue there, but there are some still pockets, I think, of older residential, that still orders the northern section of at least a straightaway portion of this. Was there any discussion with those neighborhoods or consideration about maybe just spot walls for those areas?
So we did do a noise study analysis and report as part of our PD&E study, and there is a handful of homes that are adjacent to the corridor, but we found that a noise wall would not be cost feasible or reasonable to provide enough noise abatement for those handful of homes. You have to meet a threshold of how many homes or receptors that you're benefiting versus how much money it's costing. And there's like a ratio, and we don't meet that to provide noise abatement for those folks.
Right, and in addition, the shorter walls would be located at the right-of-way line, so we have to make sure that they're short enough or not too long that they block sight distance from the side street.
Right.
So they have to be pulled back away from the intersection far enough. By doing that, it creates an even shorter wall, and we can't benefit more than one receptor, and that's kind of the threshold. There's another home that's in that area that's considered for relocation, so that one doesn't necessarily count in the calculation.
I mean, it's unfortunate for some of those. I just always like to ask the questions, but like you said, it's the shorter the wall and the further away, the less impact it's having. But at the same point, you know, if I was the resident there, I would like to have at least whatever I could to try and shield, even if it's only a percentage of that noise. But I'm not going to reassess how you do the numbers. I just wanted to know if that was considered specific to the residential area. All right. A lot of discussion today. Any other thing? Let's stop talking. All right, with that, I think we are.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes,
It looks like Bob Fry has his hand up.
I think it was up earlier.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn it off. There we go. Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you all for the. And we only have one more topic, just for the record. Our last one was canceled. So for those that are high in the end, I think we're getting here to have a lot of discussion. So this is the last scheduled topic, the 2050 needs assessment for major projects.
Wade Reynolds, Hillsborough TPO. Good to see you all on this side of the podium again. All right, and this is an overview of the 2050 LRTP needs assessment for major projects. So we have several sources for these major projects that we evaluate in the LRTP. First is requests from jurisdictions. Second is existing local priorities in our TIP. The TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program Table 2, has a long list of existing priorities, about 100 priorities long. And so we looked through that as well. We also evaluate any regional priorities brought to us from either the TMA, that's the Transportation Management Area consisting of Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough, or the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, SCTPA, which includes also Citrus, Hernando, Polk, Manatee, and Sarasota counties as well. So that's an 8-county area. We also talked to FDOT about their CIS plan and their non-CIS projects looking out to 2050. So we looked for starters at the existing projects in the 2045 cost feasible plan. You can see some of those here. A couple have been constructed. Just to name one, Paseo Almar from US 41 to US 301. And the Gandy Bridge, or excuse me, the Thea Gandy extension are just a couple of projects that can be noted here. With this plan, this was the cost feasible. That was assuming a 1-cent sales tax, all for transportation included in it. So many of these projects were essentially not cost feasible because we had a lower funding scenario. So moving forward, many of these may fall off. Also, this is just one example of the CIS cost feasible plan. These are the projects from basically 2032 to 2050. The tail end of those CIS, these are largely interstate and interchange projects. And then we went out to the jurisdictions and asked if there are any new projects. Some of these will be a little bit new. Some you all will have heard of before. We have just starting at the top left, the widening of the Veterans Expressway north of Van Dyke Road. You all have heard that one before, but it is being tested here as well. Express lanes on I-275, I-4, excuse me, I-275, but not I-275 north of downtown, to be clear. The east-west portion of I-275, I-4, and all of I-75 being considered for express lanes. A potential project along US 41 from Gibsonton Drive north to Brandon. 3 new possible interchanges, one at Harney Road and I-75, one at 275 and US 41, and one south of the Little Manatee River on I-75. The green projects shown here are all transit projects. We have an east-west BRT from the airport to Net Park. The long green line going all the way from north to south is requested by the SCTPA. And that would be a Bradenton to Brooksville route using either US 41 or the CSX line, potentially for commuter transit. The CSX line going down through the South Tampa Peninsula also being looked at. That is part of the City of Tampa's recent grant for several, I believe it's $1.75 million to study several major transit projects. We also have the 56th Street BRT, which goes from Brandon to USF. And then moving on to the red lines, which are widening projects. We have US 92, State Road 60, County Road 39, Lithia Pinecrest, and State Road 672. So those are currently going to be in the study, in the survey rather, for public feedback. And we will also be looking at these in the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Model as well. This is just an example of Table 2, some of the priorities for new funding that we'll be considering. I just took one of the pages and the priority numbers. And so the next step, as I mentioned, we will be modeling the projects to evaluate their performance. We have the LRTP MetroQuest survey, which was supposed to be coming to you today, but it will be coming to you next month for you all to take it. But in the meantime, it should be live in the next couple of days if you want to go online and take it. We will narrow down that list based on project performance and also determine the funding levels and determine what is cost feasible through 2050. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but you will be seeing this again almost every month through, well, probably every other month through adoption in October. So thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them or try.
All right, great. Thank you, Wade. Do we have any questions? I think we're good. Looking forward to the updates. All right, that's the last scheduled item. Do we have any old new business or new business that anybody would like to bring in? We have one housekeeping item we would like to address.
When you all get the constant contact forms for this, there is an RSVP button now. So if you all click it, you can easily just say if you're coming in person or not, and we will have an automatic count of who's expected. That's good.
That should be good.
Is that when you send the agenda? It's the same email? Okay.
Because previously I would always send an email. Was that only? Okay. Yeah, that'll make it. That's right. That is a process improvement that is appreciated. So if everybody can remember to do that prior to the meeting. Any other comments? With that, I think the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Check. American Institute of Certified Planners is our, I'm with, funny, APA, American Planning Association.